And good day. We're back for the third in the series on how to survive in the tourism industry under the current conditions that we find ourselves in South Africa. By now, many of you have started to realize that the economic conditions currently rough in the whole world are having a direct impact on your income in your businesses. So the question that many of you are going to ask is, how do I survive what's happening at this point in time? And yes, every single person has got plans, every single person has got ideas on how they are going to be able to survive. If you watch the other two in this series, we spoke about finding other ways of earning an income. Today we're going to talk about something which I believe is vitally important, and that is mindset, the way that your mind operates at this point. It is vitally important for every single one of us to understand that we have a certain, almost a person can say, a framed ideology which is kind of compressed in our minds. And this is because of our upbringing, because of the circumstances that we've had in our past, and of course for all the things that have happened to you basically during the time that you grew up and you get to the age where you are now. Your brain, your mind, is in actual fact the greatest asset, but also at the same time the greatest enemy. And you need to understand that this grey matter that's between your ears is something that you can get control of. And the current economic conditions in the tourism industry, which is where I operate in, is very difficult to operate, and we have a lot of people that are starting to get panicky. The reasons for that is simply based on the fact that there's no business out there. Business is not coming. It's not going to be recovering very soon by any estimates. So we need to find other ways of doing business, and those were really, to be quite honest, the last two discussions that I had on video with the industry was to say that you need to look at alternative sources of income quickly, because you need to generate income that is going to be able to actually help you in this time to be able to survive. So what we're going to talk about right now is there's a time log in your mind that we need to take cognizance of. And this time log is something that you can overcome personally, and I'm going to try and see if I can help, just to try and help you to understand how you actually overcome this. But everything depends, unfortunately, on your attitude. And the attitude of many people, people say, I am what I am. But it's your attitude that is in actual fact going to determine whether you're actually able to survive at the end of the time. So let's talk a little bit about attitude just in starting, because that's something that if you do not have the right attitude in business, in dealing with people, you're going to find that it's going to become exceptionally difficult to find other sources of income, even if you have the best product available that you can find. So I'm just going to tell you a short story, and this time I've got a couple of really interesting stories that I'd like to talk about. We're going to talk about a short story, and the short story is about a gentleman that went to a certain town, and his vehicle got a problem. He had to stop at the filling station, and while he was waiting for the people to actually come and help him with the vehicle, he had his windows open and he was parked at a filling station. The pump attendant that was on duty, because the windows were open, he could hear everything that this pump attendant was saying to the people coming in to fill up with petrol. And he listened to one conversation as the people pulled in. The people got out the car and said to the pump attendant, we are for the new contract. We're about to go and work at that big development just outside town. And we're here today to try and see if we can find a house and to have a look at schools and things like that. Can you tell us, what is this town like? So the pump attendant then said to them, well, what was the town like in the place that you come from? And the family stood around, and the father said, oh, we are heartbroken at having to leave that town. because people there were so friendly. We had so many friends. I mean, every weekend was a party. People just, the whole community kind of gathered around and really strengthened us. We were very sad to actually have to leave, and we've left so many good friends behind us. And the pump attendant said to them, well, you're going to find that this town is almost exactly the same. And the family happily filled up with petrol and off they went. And a little while later, another vehicle pulled in, and the same pump attendant went to help the gentleman. And again, the family got out of the car, and the guy said, hi, we're here for that big development that's about to start outside town, and we've been transferred to actually come and live here. Tell us, what is this town like? And the pump attendant said to him, well, sir, what is the town like in the place that you come from? And he said, oh, the town that we lived in was a disaster. We've been there for many years. We had no friends. If we wanted to braai with people, we'd have to invite our family to actually come and braai. We really just didn't, find that the town was nice. People were not friendly to us. So for us, it was actually, for all the years, it was actually quite lonely. The pump attendant said to him, well, so you're going to find out that this town is almost exactly the same. And the family finished up with their filling up with fuel, and off they went. And the guy thought, this is crazy. He got out the car and he went across, and he said to the pump attendant, listen, I've listened to what you had to say to these people, and you've just told two distinct lies to people. It can't be like this and then exactly the opposite to the next people who come in. The pump attendant said to him, sir, this town has got nothing to do with the way that these people feel. This town is whatever these people are. So if they come here with good attitudes and good relationships, they're going to find that this town is exactly the same. If they come here with bad relationships and bad attitudes, they're going to find that this town is exactly the same. Therefore, I didn't lie to them, because they are what they bring. And they will either find that the town is a wonderful place to live in, or a town that is not like a nice place to live in. It's completely up to them. It's their attitude. So the secret of attitude is what you bring to the party. Now let's get serious just for a little while. Many of you do not know this, but I studied industrial psychology for many years through a big corporate company that I used to work for. For a few years, I ran the biggest kitchens in the world, 24,000 meals a day in what was the biggest kitchens in the world. I was interviewed on many television programs and many magazine articles, featured in newspapers overseas and also in South Africa. To give you an example, just the people who cooked the food, just the chefs, the cooks themselves, were more than 300. It was a massive operation, something on a scale that even today I look back and I think, dear Lord, how difficult that was to actually do that. But in the process of studying industrial psychology, I had the wonderful opportunity to come to terms with a lot of the way that people actually think in their minds. So today, let's just for a moment get serious. Every single one of us are in business today, and we have a history of incidents and things that have happened that shape who we are today, our attitudes, our opinions, and whether we succeed or whether we don't. So today I want to give you a lesson in psychology. You see, every single thing that has happened to you that usually, unfortunately, is negative, you have a tendency of remembering it. Yes, there's all the highlights, your children getting born, you're getting married, and all those types of things. These things, these negative things, are usually the things that when you turn off the lights at night time, as you turn off the lights, these are the things that normally spring to mind. And you think usually quite strongly on them. They influence every single thing that you are. So today I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm going to teach you. This is a ruler, courtesy of the SAP of South Africa. And that ruler, as you note, is something that is used to measure. So all along there are measurements, and every one of those little lines that you see there is a measurement that has got a value attached to it. In between that are tiny other little lines that also have another value. And as you go, each one of those values has got something attached to the value of that ruler. Your life is exactly the same. Because as far back as you can remember, every single one of these marks on the ruler can be in your mind almost like a timeline of incidents and things that have happened to you. And if you take a look at this measures a certain quantity in terms of length. These can also be taken as the content of your mind, the memory. And you can access those memories at any time. So if you look at this and you say, if this is the value of all my memories, then this encapsulates who I am. But now, if you take this ruler and you try to, as your mind, and you try to use this ruler to, which in actual fact is what has happened in your past, and you try to use that ruler to measure up for your future, unless of course you are insanely doing exceptionally well, let's say, and you are able to do wonderful things in your life. This usually is a lot of negativity and things that have happened that actually drag you down as a human being. Now, if you take this ruler and you put this ruler behind you and you say, these are the things that happened in my past. And then when you are facing, like many of us are now on an economic level, facing a lot of challenges. Every day there's various things. We've got to negotiate. We've got to find ways through financial issues. And you try and take this a ruler that measures up so much of the bad things of the past. And you try and use this ruler to measure up for your future based on every little bit of value that is attached, these marks on the ruler. Chances are that you are not going to make the right decisions. Why? Because this ruler of the past is not a very good measurement or yardstick for the future. You have had pretty much successes, but we've all had a whole lot of failures. I've got more failures than what I'd be prepared to even discuss. Luckily, I know what my failures are, and I have had to deal with them many, many, many times over. I have 6 businesses, and I want to tell you that every single one of those 6 businesses at the moment has some problems in actually operating correctly because of the current circumstances in South Africa. If I try and use the yardstick, which is generally denotes a failure in the past, to try and use that to measure up in my future, you probably find that we're going to make the same mistakes again and again. So you've got to find a new way to measure up for your future. The reasons being, people, is you've got to survive. You've got to survive all the changes that are happening, because I can guarantee you now, when these economic conditions in our country and as it is in the rest of the world, and all these changes, all the people that are currently challenging every single thing that we know and understand about the economy, about the world that we live in, and we hear things about new world powers and things like that are happening out there, chances are things are going to change to such a dramatic level that we are going to have to find new ways to actually operate. This ruler is like a self-limiting thought. Every single one of these things that measures along this ruler here are things that actually hold you back. They limit what you can become. So now, how do I help you to change the way that you think, change your habits, so that you can become something better and find easier ways to actually operate out there? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you, it's a little story. Let's just call it a parable, because it's an easier way of explaining these things. It's not true. It's just a story. But as much as what the story is not correct, the adage or the understanding behind this is absolutely so unique. So let us go into the story, this parable that I'm going to tell you. And the story is about, not on Earth, far away on another planet, somewhere else in another galaxy. There was this planet that had been created. And the man in charge, and we speak about God, but in this case, it's a parable. So we're just going to talk about the man that's in charge. The man in charge had created this beautiful planet for people to live on. And he had placed human beings to live on this planet. And the human beings had been given something unbelievable. They had been given the ability that whatever they could think of and conceive in their minds, they were immediately able to go and do it. So it was it was people can call it a utopia. And as time progressed, the man in charge looked down and realized that this unique ability to do every single thing that people could conceive in their minds was leading to a lot of problems down on this planet. And the problem was that the human beings that he placed onto this planet, some were doing unbelievably wonderful things, building beautiful structures. Others were coming with the same ability and destroying those structures. Others were creating beautiful works of art, and others were coming and destroying those works of art. And so things went until that planet was actually in chaos. Now, of course, listen carefully. You're going to get the idea behind this thing pretty quickly. So there came a day when the man in charge decided to call the wise men of this planet. And he said, come up here to me. I want to sit down with you and have a chat about what I see happening on this utopia that I've given you. And the wise men all arrived, and they sat down with the man in charge. And the man in charge said to them, do you see what I see? And they said, yes, we see the chaos that your creation has made down on this planet. And the man in charge said to them, well, what is it that you think we need to do? And they said, well, Mr. Man in charge, we have a problem, because if we leave the situation as it is, the chances are that these people are just going to kill each other off, because the ability to do wonderful things with your mind, immediately, that if you can conceive it, you have that inbuilt ability to go and do that thing immediately, is causing chaos on the earth. So let us take that unique ability and let's take it away from the human beings. And the man in charge said, this is great. It's kind of along the lines of what I'm thinking. What is it that you think we need to do with this? And the first wise man said to the man in charge, let us take it and let us dig a very deep hole into the planet and hide this inside the planet like a precious metal. And the man in charge said, even that would not really work, because the human beings who we've created, or I've created on that earth, will learn to go after precious metals. They will dig it out. We'll be back to where we are now. The next one said, let us take this and hang it in the air, because man can't fly. And the man in charge said to that wise man, well, even that, with the limited amount of ability that man will still have, he will learn to build wonderful machines that can fly in the air. They'll scoop it out of the air and we'll be back to where we are now. The next one said, let us take it and put it at the bottom of the ocean. And the man in charge said, no, even that is not going to work, because man will learn how to build secured environments or make machines that they can go down to the bottom of the earth. They'll scoop it up because it'll be so precious. They'll bring it back and we'll be back to where we are now. The next one said, let us take it and put it on top of the highest mountain on this planet. And the man in charge said, even that's not going to work. And the reason why it's not going to work is because man actually can't breathe up on those levels. But he will learn to build special apparatuses where he can trap air. And they'll climb to the top of these mountains, because this is a precious, precious thing. They'll scoop it off the top of the mountain and we'll be back to where we are now. And so the discussions went on and on. And then quite near the end, one of them said, Mr. Man in charge, let us take this and put it on the moon. No man can go to the moon. And the man in charge said, even with that limited ability that man has got, I want to tell you that he will learn how to build machines that he can fly to the moon. I'll take it off the moon, bring it back to this planet, and we'll be back to where we are now. So then they thought a little bit longer. And then the last wise man said, Mr. Man in charge? And the man in charge said, yes. He said, let us be wise. And folks, you need to listen to what I'm telling you now, because as much as what this is not true, this is true. Let us take this unique ability and let us take it and put it into the one place where only those who qualify will be able to actually find it. And all the wise men looked at this last wise man and they said, where is that? And he said, let us take this ability and put it on the inside the heart of man. And only those who qualify will be able to go find this precious thing within themselves. So it is within every single human being on that planet. And only those who qualify can find the key to unlock that ability within them, and they will have the ability to go and do whatever they want to do. Now, as much as that's just a little story, a parable, let me tell you something. It's true for the earth, the planet that we live on today. Inside every single human being on this planet is the incredible ability to do what you can conceive. If you think of it and you conceive it, you actually have the ability to go and do it. What drags us down on almost 90% of these things? This is what drags you down. It tells you, if you go by the timeline, it's a challenge to overcome those self-limiting thoughts. So what you have to do, even when people tell you you can't do that, can I tell you something? You can do it. But you've got to change the way that your mind operates. It's called a mindset. Not mind power, just mindset. You've got to change the way that you think so that you become somebody that is able to access this unique ability which is inside you. Many of you will say, there's no ways that some person from some small town somewhere has got the ability to do this. But then I want to ask you the question. Where do you think all these people came from? People who built the Titanic. People who have conceived how to fly rockets to the moon. People that have conceived how to dig holes after precious metals and go in underneath the ground. People that have conceived ideas on how to build submarines and go down to the bottom of the ocean. People that have conceived and challenged themselves to climb to the top of the highest mountains. And all these other wonderful things that humans have been able to do in our history. You have got to find the ability to unleash that inside ability inside you. Because the challenge, and folks, listen carefully, the challenge is not out there somewhere. The challenge is right now. Economically, we're in a very difficult spot where we are at this point in time. If we do not find ways to overcome the way that we think, the way that we operate, can I tell you something? Most of us are going to end up losing our businesses. Why? Because there are economic challenges across the face of every single thing. Those of you that are watching, that have got opportunity, or for argument's sake, your business is booming. And I know there are some of you that are actually doing exceptionally well at this point in time. Thank God for those people that are doing well. But for the rest of you, you need to take this to heart. You have a hidden power inside you. And the key, and this is what we now have been discussing, the key is this gray matter in between your ears. If you take that gray matter and you use that to unlock the hidden power inside you, can I tell you something? There's nothing that can stand in your way. It is vitally, vitally important that every single one of us right now find a way to get rid of the measure of the past. Dump it. Why? Because it is of no value to you. It's just thoughts. It's stuff that ties us down, that causes us not to be able to do sometimes even the most basic things. Some of us can't even speak in a confrontational way when people confront us. So we bow down, we remove ourselves, we allow people to do whatever it is. You have got to today, if you want to continue to survive in this new economic time, in this new time that we as business are entering into, especially after having, for so many of us, not having income now for some months, we've got to find a way to overcome the positional problem that we are at this point in time. In the last two videos, we spoke about finding other ways of making income. This is the time that for so many of you, you need to now literally, and maybe the time has now come. And I purposely did not go and do the third in the series too quickly. I needed to actually wait until we feel the butt. And hopefully today, the butt of the economic conditions that we are operating under has got to the point where you actually realize that you need help from somewhere else. The key thing for you to do today is you have got to change the way that your mindset operates. You cannot be one of the rest of those people anymore. You've now got to join the group that is called the best of the best. The reason why, ladies and gentlemen, is quite simple. It's called economic survival. I trust that this very short 25 minutes of discussion is just some of the insight into the way that your mind operates to help you to actually overcome some of the many problems that some of us are actually having to do with just being able to survive in this time. The key thing for you to know is that every single one of you have got a wonderful, unique ability inside you. The fact that you were doing business successfully for many years, and now we've all run into a huge brick wall, which is called COVID-19 and lockdown. Now suddenly we have to change the way that we operate. And I trust that this in some way is going to help you. On your computer, many of you know this, that if you hit the button called CTRL, control, and you hit the button ALT, and you hit the button delete, it will reset your computer. Hopefully this short discussion will actually help you if you hit Control, Alt, and Delete to reset the way that you think. Thank you for listening. I trust that you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, send me a message. Let me know. Let me know so that I can consider doing even another one of these kind of talks. The key thing with this is don't listen to this talk once. Listen to it a number of times. Somebody, we do another international group that we speak to quite regularly to do with more or less the same thing. And I did one of these talks, which was about 45 minutes. And a few days later, one of the people came back and said to me, I want to let you know that I have listened to this now more than 17 times. I have changed the way that I think about anything. God bless to all of you. I trust that you will find a true self hidden inside there. And I trust that every single one of you will learn and find out a way to help you so that you become more successful in what you do, to become successful in other ways as all of us face the challenges that we're facing in the economic conditions that we are in at this point in time. Thank you for listening.